Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity to share some of the highlights of my work. I will be talking about the role of identity and power in social science and decision research, especially in context of data aggregation platforms like Prolific, MTurk. And then I'll demonstrate one of the governance applications that support decentralized trust and discuss what does it mean for future AI governance. Just a disclosure, all of this work that I will talk about is about users, human-computer interactions, so it would not be all of the talk that you might have attended so far. So feel free to ask me any questions if anything seems unfamiliar. Okay, so when you think about it, identity and trust really sits in the center of everything we do online. And whether it's about scrolling through social media, or we can think about playing game or collaborating in platforms with your colleagues. And everything here, it comes down to who you are connecting with and if you trust that connection. Now, you are seeing more and more cases of synthetic identities, impersonation, and AI-generated profiles. One of the examples here from these tweets in April 2025 shows that how GPT-4o models have been used to generate fake passport that KIC process would approve. And not just that, there are researchers that shows their forgery detection system are alarmingly have higher false negative, meaning that it's a huge security risk. If you also look at FBI's Internet Crime Compliance Center, identity-related crime alone accounted for $174 million last year, and digital forgeries are increasing in a rapid space. And one other example I would like to emphasize more about, and I'm sure many of you already know about it, the AI-powered responses in different survey platforms like MTurk, then CloudResearch, or Prolific. Some of the research also shows that in their survey, 2 to 10% of these responses only was valid, and the rest of that was automated and duplicated. And this is a real concern because as a researcher, if you cannot really verify the responses that you're collecting for your research, that fundamentally defy the idea of trustworthiness of science. And the policy or the design that building upon it. And there are some existing controls, heuristics like response score, IP addresses, attention check, but those really doesn't work at current state of the world. And as you can see here, this is not just a technical problem, it's the ethical problem for the research community who depends on the data from human-centered. It's not only just social science. If you think about folks here in CMU and Scilab who work on human factor, security and privacy depends on users' input on their tools or on survey. All of them are depending on this data. I would like to quickly share some of the insight from work my group with Prolific users. And for many of them in Prolific, that's their primary source of income. So what's happening lately, and this is conducted earlier 2025, what happened here that they have been timed out for the researchers they attempt to click and response for until the time they completed the survey, their responses is timed out. And they suspected that there are some automated responses which was outrunning their genuine one. And this pattern was really frequent across the board for the participants that we had the interview with. And then if you look at the current prolific user workflow, it relies on basic email verifications. So it does not quite help identity duplications or automated account creations from the start. So the question is then, how do we manage or mediate this risk in prolific platform? So one approach could be, many of you talked about decentralized trust, decentralized identity, and which rely on, without relying on central authority, it relies on verifiable credentials from trusted networks. So a recent example is World ID, which launched in the United States in May 2025. And it uses this iris scan to generate unique digital IDs and a proof of personhood, as they said. And currently it's partnering with different partners like Tinder and Visas to bring ID verification on mainstream application. So what we did actually here, we integrate this World ID workflow as a technology probe in prolific platform to see how these users' interactions look like from prolific platforms. Many of you might know or not know, the technology probe is a method in ACI which is used to understand how users interact with a system and also uncover any unexpected challenges and opportunities. So their reactions were quite mixed in these interactions platforms. What is found that, first of all, there is a known privacy guarantee, even though they are told that this platform is now privacy preserving, providing privacy guarantee, but they still are accustomed to the familiar privacy guarantee, which is provided by email verification method, which is the familiarity is one of the main factor. Now, if you, the second thing about the trust, they were quite not sure if they could trust the prolific platforms or World ID for the account issuance or verification systems. And then lastly, about usability and friction. So even though it's providing usability and security guarantees, older participants see that as a frictions, but the younger participants see that as an opportunity for safety, as you also know from warning design in security, which add a friction, but also add a security. So there is some similarities in findings in this work as well. Now, if you ask me, let me just ask you as an audience, how many of you has went to iris verification booth? Can I see the hand raise? Okay, some of you. And how many of you scan your iris? You did? Okay, that's interesting. But I see the hand raise of going there and scanning the iris a bit different, right? And I share some of the concerns with the participant that we conduct this research with. And if you ask me if I scanned my iris, I went there for the launch at SF, but I didn't scan my iris. And that's the exact point here. If there is a new systems you're trying to incorporate within the existing workflow, what's the boundaries for consumers' adoption and who and what they really trust as the issuance systems or issuer? Because even too good of a system actually would not fly if your users is not on board. So that's the point here. So we had a related discussion earlier this year at USENIX paper, which is a conference for privacy researchers and practitioners. So we discussed nearly 18 regulatory frameworks about the system requirement for identity. We found different requirements around data storage, issuance system, issuers, etc. So one of the big takeaways there was issuers' roles are often loosely defined, meaning that in decentralized system, anyone with the verifiable credentials can act as an issuer. However, with centralized system, they mandate issuers to have authority-backed approvals to being issuers. And sometimes it's ad hoc and unclear for corporation to act upon. So all of that together, what I can say for as of now, because this is an ongoing work, I'm not very optimistic of these human verifications or personhood verifications rolling out if service providers like prolific MTurk are not on board to include that in their system, particularly for survey platforms which doesn't require legal identity. A way to encourage, though, is from policy and regulations, who can make this as a mandate given the high risk of research data. Because if you don't have a good research data, the findings you're getting from the research is invalid as well. So that's a way to move forward. So I think I took a lot of time, but I would like to go briefly about this AI governance system that built upon the idea of trust. Now, for the AI governance, this term is quite vague. Many people understand AI governance in a different way. So just to clarify what I mean by AI governance is a framework to engage different perspectives to make structural change in AI. And we have seen early motion towards this idea of democratic AI from OpenAI's democratic input to AI or federal governance initiatives. Now, with seemingly talking about including diverse perspective when deciding on AI model design and specification design. Now, most effort to align AI with human values are largely top-down and corporation-controlled. And if you would like to involve diverse perspective, meaning that you need a system that has trust and power, meaning that how the power will be distributed among these people who are you're including in a decision-making, and if you can trust the coordination method by which you are including these people. And this is not really a new concept. So if you look at the citizen science research, has a great precedent about that. Platform like littlesys.org, environment.gov, and also this DAO, right? So they have shown this distributed community and how they monitor, deliberate, and act collectively for public goods. So we wondered, could this structure that already exists out there can be adopted in AI governance? And what do I mean by that? Let me just go through one of the examples. For example, imagine watching a YouTube video debates with, let's say, President Trump and Biden, and you ask about the interpretations of the video, and you got certain responses that you don't think is appropriate, or the framing or the political leaning was not appropriate in your opinion. And then instead of just instead of this thumbs up or thumbs down in current LLM application option, what if you have an option to challenge this response and propose a new improvement? So once you click that options, you go to and roll out in a discussion forum where you talk to other community member, policymaker about these issues, and you come up with a proposed change for your model specification. And then you roll out, as like in DAO, you make the proposals, and you, as a community, vote for these proposals on the proposed changes. And to sum up what it looks like, these tools, which is called InclusiveAI, you start deliberating on topic where you find AI responses are sensitive or controversial. And you add a particular group of peoples, end users, policymaker, regulator, and the company itself to make a decisions which spec should be used for certain responses. And now, when you do, use this AI governance process, how do you really measure if this is working well or not? This is the same as country-level governance. If you think about if a country's democratic process is working well or not, there is a VDEM metrics, which is based on citizens' satisfactions of their country's governance. And that is also we used to see if this inclusive AI process seems to be democratic, deliberative, and political equality is there or not. It has, from the response, self-reported response, it has deliberative democracy and political equality. However, there are a lot of limitations I would love to talk about you after these sessions if you're interested. Just to sum up here, we run 2 case studies with industry partner OpenAI and a multidisciplinary team, and we evaluated 2 use cases, political responses as well as gender depictions. And one of the big challenges still remain that we talked about it, identity. If you think about rolling out this kind of governance in the wild, then you still need to make sure that people who are engaging in the system are real people. So the identity comes into place here again. So to sum up, we talked about trustworthy AI, responsible AI, which always start with trustworthy human interactions in that system. So as we move forward, whether it's KYC process or research ecosystem or AI governance, so identity is just not authentications. It might be also considered as inclusion, participations, and trust. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you for the talk. I have a question. At the beginning, you mentioned world, and you mentioned the fancy looking orb eye scanning thing, but they also have basic ZKPs for documents. So you can scan, actually you could probably take out your, not you, I'm sure you know this, but people could take out
passport and other, yes.
Your phone right now and scan your passport or something, right? These are digitally signed. Did you run a user probe on that by chance, actually, out of curiosity?
We are actually, there are several treatment conditions, one of which is biometric. Another is document-based IDs, and another one is they have options for phone numbers. So it's also about the trade-off of usability and security. Seemingly, while in their developer documents, they also mention about these trade-offs. They provide a few options because they want users to choose what level of security they want versus what level of security they want to compromise based on the data they would like to be verified with. Yes, we have treatment conditions. I particularly choose to present the iris verifications because that's, I would say, a researcher's interest. I have a much more interest in understanding how biometric verifications after all these years been perceived again in another context, because we have really went to biometric and authentications quite a while. But again, we are talking about in context of privacy preserving. So that's why we want to see how contextualize, if people put into different contexts, if their privacy and security expectations and perception change, and seemingly it's changing. Although there are other factors, as you see, that people see this as a friction. Also, people see issuer who is actually providing that system is very important, like super important. Many of the earlier privacy and security research, we saw that people has a negative attitude towards government, but in this case, as you can see, they trust government rather walled ID as the issuance system. So there is some similar and different responses, which is interesting to see.
Yeah, it's funny because it kind of blends the, like there are biometrics on your passport, right? Like your JPEG of your face is like broken down.
That's another thing. Oh, sorry for that. I have to just mention that. One of the other idea or perception for users is data minimizations. When it's about passport, you have different attribute of information, name, DOB, address. So they think that as a list of different information, not one information, versus biometrics, which is single information, either your fingerprint or iris. So they think that biometric is more secure than the passport, which is another interesting idea from the users. But that might not be the case. But yeah, interesting.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, let's please thank Tanusree. Thank you.